It's Movie Time is brought to you by the Gateway Film Center, 1550 North High Street, Columbus, Ohio. Further details and showtimes online at gatewayfilmcenter.com.
The award-winning It's Movie Time is produced by John DeSando. Listen to the show and read reviews online at WCBE.org.
I'm John DeSando.
I'm Hope Madden.
And this is It's Movie Time. Hope, the film is The Theory of Everything. It stars Eddie Redmayne as Stephen Hawking, the great astrophysicist, and Felicity Jones as his wife. Your reaction?
I thought Eddie Redmayne was spectacular, and I'm very excited. I've been a fan of his for years. I'm very excited he finally got it like a big platform. But I was a little underwhelmed by the film.
Okay, how do you mean underwhelmed? This is the theory of everything. This is the cosmos, black holes, wormholes, time.
Well, you know what? Honestly, I think part of it might be that there was so little actual science, which wouldn't have made for a spectacular film, but I felt like that was a pretty gaping hole to leave in a biopic about Stephen Hawking.
That's a great point. I think there are 2 or 3 times when some of his theories are explained with potatoes and other things, okay, which I appreciated. But, man, not enough by any stretch.
No, yeah, for me, it felt very superficial. I mean, again, obviously, you can't go into a lot of detail on his theories, but sometimes it was so superficial. It was just him by himself in a lab where a lot of historical work had been done, or him, you know,
yes,
at a chalkboard for
right,
a moment, and then, you know, him speaking for just, you know, 20 seconds or so in front of a crowd.
What a frustrating moment. I thought this was
yeah,
going to be hot.
Yeah.
These guys breathing down his neck
Right,
about his theories. I thought this is great, and then it's gone. Reminds me of Interstellar, where I thought we had a lot more science, did we?
I thought so. Yeah,
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
There was a lot more of it I didn't understand.
Yeah.
So
It's a strange balance, isn't it?
is.
How if they had too much, we'd say, they just choked me with all this
Right,
science.
right.
But if they don't have enough, and particularly with Hawking, because his gift was his ability to translate to us in what his brief history of time, 10 million copies, some very abstract notions. And so there you'd hope for that. Now look let's be fair. His wife, Jane, it's her memoir.
Exactly, right.
So it's going to be, I don't know if it's going to be romanticized, but it perhaps is not going to be the kind of technicality that we'd like.
You're right. I felt, I mean, I don't want to be too dismissive of the film. For one thing, it's beautiful. It's beautifully filmed.
That cinematography.
Oh, it's just, it is, you know, it is. It's a lovely spectacle to look at, and the performances across the board are absolutely wonderful. From the, you know, from the big leads to just the smallest supporting characters, they're very charming. You know, and all of it is very well handled. I just really felt like the whole film was a little superficial and a little safe.
Look at it. To me, my initial reaction was, and I liked it very much, as a Hollywood biopic.
Yeah.
Now, his life is a Hollywood biopic. So I don't know. I would take more license with his life. I mean, this is the way it went. Stephen Hawking got a motor neuro disease that completely debilitated him, and he overcame that and was one of the greatest scientists of our time. What's not Hollywood about that?
I guess I just felt like there was less struggle than there must have honestly been.
Well, there you go. I have to agree with you on that. It's a little bit too sweet.
Yeah, it's very sweet, and he's very sweet, and he may be the most charming man on earth. That really may be the truth. But boy, he came off as the most charming man on earth until all of a sudden there's this little Randy business going on toward the end there. But I did appreciate that they didn't cut the movie off before the marital troubles set in. I mean, I was a little actually worried they were going to do that. So I appreciated that they followed it through all the way to the end.
Look, she gave him 30 years of her life, and she did apparently a splendid job.
It would appear.
And then there's this predatory nurse who scoops him up. What's that all about?
But she was sort of wonderful too. That performance.
Yes.
She was very sly and very colorful. It really injected a burst of just vibrancy into the film. It was a great performance.
You know, there are great questions that the film does kind of answer, like, did they have sex? He and his wife, yeah, they did. They had 3 kids. Isn't that just amazing? He said, so one of his friends asks him, and he says, it's a different system.
His friend says, that explains everything about men, doesn't it?
So that was good, and the nurse treated him differently. I think she coddled him She was softer with him.
And I think a little in awe of him.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
And yeah, it was just a different type of relationship. Yeah. And
so I agree. That's a great part, and that gives more of the tension that we figured must have happened with that. Now, Hope, Eddie Redmayne. Yes. What are his chances?
You know, it's going to be a tough year, I think. But I think that he's got a pretty good shot because Oscar loves people who play real life people, and his performance is really is quite wonderful. It's really wonderful. You know, I think that Michael Keaton is probably the lead in the category. And you know, there are a lot of other strong, and you know, and in fact, the James Brown biopic, that was a great performance as well.
Oh, let's not forget that.
So he could be neck and neck with another real life person that would be hard to inhabit, but he's wonderful in this.
I'll tell you why I still think Michael Keaton has the edge. Keaton's role is so nuanced. There are so many different aspects of it, so many different relationships he has in that film. It allows his range. For Redmayne, once Hawking becomes debilitated and into his wheelchair, there's only his eyes and his mouth left. And like Redford in All Is Lost, once you don't have any dialogue coming from the actor, I think that it just doesn't compete.
No, I think you may be right. Although, and the thing too is, of course, is that Keaton has such a long career behind him, and a bit underappreciated. And the thing, Eddie Redmayne, though, I have to say, is underappreciated as well. But he's mostly done small independent films. But I first saw him in a movie called Savage Grace, which is a tough film to watch. He's opposite Julianne Moore, and he's absolutely magnificent. And even in just like low-budget horror films, he was in a movie, Black Death, about a witch hunter, and he was magnificent. He's just really a force, and so even if I feel pretty confident there will be a nomination in this,
I do
for
too.
him,
I do
and
too.
Even if there's not a win, which might be fine, I think that it's going to move him into the spotlight, so he'll get some bigger films and better roles.
You know, let's not, and I'm with you too, and I know I liked it better than you did, and I liked it perhaps because of its romance, because of that beautiful cinematography, and because I'm intrigued about a human being who can become so preeminent with such a, you know, just the ironic opposite. His mind just expanding, his body constricting. This is great stuff, and this is real. And apparently he has a sense of humor, which we're acknowledging here.
Yeah,
so it is so, and they did capture that. So they had some real restrictions on here, which is the more flamboyant, romantic side of this guy.
Yeah.
And you almost feel like the director might have pulled back a little bit on that to make it more believable. We've got a real nerdy scientist here. Anyway, yes, our demands are great, as life was very demanding on him. So Hope Madden, it's time for us to apply a grade to The Theory of Everything, starring Eddie Redmayne. And what grade would you offer?
You know, I'm going to go with a B.
All right, good. And I'm going to go with an A-, because I just got caught up in it. And before we go, I wanted to ask you, do you remember My Left Foot with
I do.
Daniel Day-Lewis?
Absolutely, yeah.
What would be your, do you have any feeling? You remember with My Left Foot, Daniel Day-Lewis plays a painter. He uses his foot.
And he won the Oscar for that.
Right.
You know, it was, the film was much grittier around him. It felt less like A Beautiful Mind. It felt less manipulated.
Okay.
I'm sure it was, that they all are. They're very manipulated. All biopics are. But My Left Foot, and I also think because very few people were particularly familiar with the story, that it was all a bit more surprising, maybe.
True. Yeah. All right. Okay. So you're feeling Day-Lewis is probably a better performance.
You know, it's been such a long time
I know, okay.
that I hate to be all
but
nostalgic
your
and
memory's
romantic
much better
about
than
it. You know what? It may have been. It may have been. I think it was a more powerful film. For me, My Left Foot was a more powerful film.
Good. Anyway, who's to say this isn't a powerful film?
No, it's lovely. It's a lovely, likable film.
Isn't it great for Christmas time?
It is.